You are listening to a White Phosphorus Pictures podcast.
Broadcasting under the night sky from the edge of an undisclosed jungle on the Gulf of Mexico, I'm Christopher Garitano, your voice in the night. For the next hour, allow me to be your guide into the bizarre unknown, the fantastic macabre, and together we'll journey to that borderland between fiction and reality, a place beyond all rational explanation. We are now off to the witch.
So there's a bunch of photographers from the newspapers want to take a picture. You want to take a picture?
No, it's not yet.
Would you enjoy it while you were doing it?
What's the worst part of it? I mean, they didn't care. I knew better,
That was the voice of a monster in human form, a grave-robbing ghoul named Edward Theodore Gein. On November 16, 1957, not long after Halloween, the local police of Plainfield, Wisconsin, descended upon his isolated farmhouse and opened a doorway to hell on earth. The macabre scene was something most of us only know from our favorite Halloween horror films. Psycho, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Silence of the Lambs were all inspired by what happened in that house. Bodies slaughtered and butchered, chairs and furniture made of human limbs and bones, stuffed corpses, skulls everywhere, and a mask, the once biological face of one of his victims, prepared by Ed himself as he allegedly danced under the moonlight wearing the skin of his prey. Soon after the horrific discovery, Ed was arrested, went to trial, and ultimately spent the remainder of his days in a mental health facility until his own demise on July 26, 1984. Tonight's guest, ironically, is a grave robber, inspired by the monster of Plainfield, as this cemetery bandit is guilty of one alleged crime. He is the man who stole Ed Gein's tombstone, and he's here tonight to celebrate Halloween with us, as we'll talk about childhood stories, horror movies, and the fine line between slasher films and reality. So grab a pumpkin ale, an apple cider, light a fire if it's cold, wrap yourself in a blanket and enjoy the spookiest night of the year with us. I'll be back after this commercial break.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
You are listening to the Off to the Witch podcast, where we explore that bizarre borderline between fiction and reality and all subjects arcane. Journey over to my YouTube channel and subscribe now at youtube.com/@offtothewitch for a variety of extras and special features, including the Off to the Witch mini docs with further insights on many of the latest episodes, as well as previews and behind the scenes of my forthcoming investigative series, Off to the Witch Presents, as well as the anniversary edition of my motion picture documentary, Montauk Chronicles. And follow us on social media. All links are available at linktree.com/Garitano7, Garetano7, and stay tuned for more Off to the Witch.
Just gather round and I'll elucidate on what happens in Sleepy Hollow when it gets late. Long about midnight, the ghosts and banshees, they get together for their nightly jamborees. There's things with horns and saucer eyes, and some with fangs about this size. Some are fat, and some are thin, and some don't even wear their skin. I'm telling you, brother, it's a frightful sight in Sleepy Hollow on Halloween night. And so, my friends, tonight take heed. The headless horseman on his steed rides the road through the hollow there. He wants your head, look out, beware.
With the hip-hop and the clippity-clop, he's out looking for a head to swap. So don't try to figure out a plan.
You can't reason with a headless man.
Several years ago, I covered firsthand the incredible story you are about to see recreated in this motion picture. It is a human horror story of ghastly proportions and profound reverberations. But because it is human, perhaps we can learn something from it. Something of ourselves, of our own fears and needs. But please, let me warn you, the events have been recreated in detail. Nothing has been left to the imagination. It is not a story for the squeamish or the faint-hearted. Now that you stand warned, we can proceed with our story. It is the story of Ezra Cobb, murderer, grave robber, necrophiliac perhaps, or as you may remember him from those stories of long ago, the Butcher of Woodside.
Welcome back to Off to the Witch. I'm your host, Christopher Garitano, and tonight's Halloween guest, Shane Bugbee, is a controversial artist and writer. For more information on Shane's life and art, please listen to episode number 77. Tonight, in addition to our usual Halloween nostalgia and semi-casual reminiscence, we discuss Shane's perspective on the fine line between horror movies and serial killers, his obsession with the artifacts of notorious real-life monsters, and his adventure, a unique heist and true account in his new book, I Stole Ed Gein's Tombstone. So here's my interview with Shane Bugbee. So, Shane, happy Halloween, my friend.
Happy Halloween! This is I love one of my favorite holidays, of course.
Right, and so here's the thing. Is this a weird year? Do you see this as an odd year in history? 2025.
No, at my age, I got to tell you, I'm happy to be old and have survived. I'm 57 this November 9th. My birthday's November 9th, so people, you can wish me happy birthday then.
Oh, happy forthcoming.
Yes, but at this age, you sort of just shrug. You laugh at. I can laugh at everything. Nothing really bothers me because I've seen it all 10 different times. Reagan was just as extreme. It was pretty much as extreme as this person. I shouldn't say as extreme.
I suppose a lot of people don't realize that when they're caught up in their emotions, you know.
Yeah, and I feel deeply. I feel deeply for the situation that's happening now. And I think to tie this into Halloween, Halloween is the great escape from the horrors of humanity. I think and it's very much like the tradition of Samhain. You wear the mask to hide from the spirits, the ghosts. I think, why Halloween is such a big deal is that we're able to escape from the horrors. You know, it's unlike any other holiday. We're able to pretend we're a monster bigger than the monsters that haunt us each day, whether that's psychologically or financially or politically. We have there's a struggle in life that is real, as they say. The struggle is real, and Halloween is something where we are able to escape that and play with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I heard a historian say that in a few years, Halloween's going to surpass Christmas in its popularity around the world. They're celebrating it in Japan, and they're celebrating modern, Halloween USA or Halloween England in Japan. That never really happened before.
You don't know how much I love to see Halloween. You can see it surpassing it now. Like there's a battle, like people try to talk about Christmas at this point. Everyone's like, yeah, forget you. We're talking Halloween.
Sure.
I think it's beautiful that Halloween's a month-long holiday now. People really, the stores are decorated all month, if not for 6 weeks. People are talking about costumes, and it used to be for the only couple weeks. They'd allow. When I was a kid, this was a truly a satanic thing in the newspapers, which we only had 3 TV channels and a few newspapers. They were a great deal of the propaganda from our media was against Halloween.
Sure. Now, I have a question on that for you specifically, and I'm sure you have a great insight. So, Halloween gives us great comfort. We're excited. It's a beautiful month. The weather, in some cases, it gets cooler. Um, it's a better feeling. Whereas, like suicides are at such a high rate during the holiday season later. Why is it that some people are so fearful and it terrifies them where it gives us comfort? In your words.
Oh, oh, you mean Halloween? It
Yeah,
terrifies.
yeah.
Well, I think that's just, I think it's like this weird denial of who they are actually. Like, I think it's they're not, as LaVey would talk about, you exercise your demons. You play with them. You understand what they are and you play with them. I think a lot of those people are repressed, and that's where fear comes from. A lot of that kind of stuff comes from. I think they're just repressed people, and they're the same people who are getting involved in other people's lives, whether it's trying to bother women and with their body autonomy or transgender folks. It's like, why do you care what other people are doing with their body? Who care? Like anyone who cares to stop that stuff is probably pretty repressed, and they're probably have a fear of Halloween. But I think it's a fake fear. I think they're actually turned on. Having worked in porn, it's usually that's the case where you're the people who are saying that being able to see where porn ships and where the popular porn is and what the popular porn is and who's buying it and even being able to be in the sex business in that world, seeing who is purchasing sexual favors, you understand it's the repressed people that are the most perverted.
Sure. And it seems like that naturally. I see so much odd things going on and people who look into the paranormal because they're attaching a lot of religion to it, which was never before because any kind of psychical research or paranormal research was on a scientific basis, not so much a religious basis.
Where do you see this now, the religious part on
Oh, wow. I mean, umpteenth paranormal podcasts are literally almost sermons at the end and fueled by religion and fear. Several of them, I won't name them here on the show, but I think it's toxic to the audience because it creates fear. And I don't come from a philosophy that creates fear. I analyze things, try to understand them, and I'm less fearful of them. I face them.
Yeah, I think for when I hear stuff like that online present day, it sounds like marketing, whatever religion people are talking about, and that could be a religion that's near like Satanism. It seems like something where it's about identity and grabbing someone that wants to identify and join us. Listen to my podcast, believers. I want believers. I want followers. I don't think they're genuine. I really don't. I don't hear, and I can appreciate a genuine religious person no matter what their religion is. But they're few and far between, and most genuine people that are in religion keep it to themselves, and you'll have it'll be a conversation with a neighbor who isn't doing a podcast and isn't preaching the word of whatever religion they are. You get into a conversation about it and you find out, well, they're truly a believer in this or that. Most people that are on podcast are phonies.
Yeah, here's the thing, like it seems like it's a combination of exactly what you just said and then what you said previous, where you find that a lot of the people who are ingesting large amounts of porn are the people who condemn it publicly. Well, I think this is a way where their religion restricted them from Halloween for so long, so they found a way. We are now the knights against the evil. Everything's a demon. They talk about Bigfoot being a demon and all this other stuff. It's ridiculous.
They're
But
like parasites, and that's happened. I remember the early day when we were having like when I was a kid, there'd be haunted houses. Then there'd be the Christian haunted house where they'd show drug addiction and the evils of man, like all these kind of weird things. And you'd go there and you're like, what was that about? That's like I just visited my uncle's house. Someone's having lung cancer, whatever, and abortion and shit like that. And it's like that's just life. you know, anyway, so I think like a lot of those, when there's something popular, people get parasitic, it's like, there's this weird part of anything that's popular. Religion does attract weird people. It's part of the deal with religion. All religions attract weird people that want, and they're power hungry people, and they just can't realize the only power you have is personal power. So they're attracted, when they have so little power, they're attracted to things that are like illusions of power, like religion.
And when you were a kid, and I know you remember the Satanic Panic era clearly, but before that, if you can tell me about your earliest childhood memory without thinking too deeply about it, what impressed you about this time of year? And you can describe it however. It could have been something tragic. It could be.
Okay.
Go
I
for it.
got this. I got this. And there's a couple parts we talk about. We're going to talk about horror films, and there's something from my early childhood I'll bring up later. But I guess the thing is just I've always worked very hard. So when I had a paper route, I took 4 people's paper routes over, and I did a lot. And I was also doing golf caddy, and I did a lot. When once I was able to work, I worked. And so I've always been just really massively busy. So Halloween was like this thing where I can express my greed. I went around and I walked and filled pillowcases full of candy, and I'd go home and dump that off as quick as I could and fill it again. And I just was, there was no way I could eat all of that. It was insane, but I just kept wanting to keep getting free, like, give it to me. Give me everything you have. Give it to me. That house has big candy bars. I try to go there twice. It just, so that was I was in the suburbs, and you started when you got off of school, let's say 2:30, and I went till 10:30 at night when people were like, "Hey, it's getting late. Quit." They were angry. There's still a small group of kids knocking on the door. The kids were with parents that weren't really paying attention. We're still out there 10:30 at night knocking on
Right.
doors. And hey, we were the troublemakers too. We're definitely going to throw eggs at your house. You don't give me that candy.
Right. And in that sense, Halloween night was one big odyssey. So it would start in that sense, but then later on, these kind of shadowy kids were out there, and then you became those kids. Is that the case?
Oh, I think I don't remember not being one of those kids. As a child, it's funny when I thought about all this stuff to come on your show as a child. I remember my mom was talking about, like, my father would watch horror, a person named Svengoolie, and we also have Chicago is a son of Svengoolie, but he was like a host of a horror show, and my father would watch it all the time, and I'd watch it with him. And I guess one day he woke up and I was hitting him on the chest with the big butcher knife, like I was trying to stab him. And it really is a memory of my parents. Felt like I was this evil child from that moment on. I was also born with a witch's tits, something like that. You have milk in your tits when I'm a man. I,
Oh, that's interesting.
so and my my so I forget what it's called. This specific term, witch's tit. I think that is what it's called, and I was born with that, and I guess it was, like, real traumatic for me. I was screaming, it was very painful for the child,
Oh, wow.
and so I was told since I was a kid that I was, just this this outrageous kid. I don't feel, I don't feel outrageous, I'm just me.
Did
So
they ever have, did they, I knew a guy where his parents feared him so much they had to lock their doors at night. Did they ever get to that level with you, or they were just curious?
well, yeah, at some point, um, it went back and forth. My parent, that's a hard thing. My parents were pretty abusive. But at some point when they did they did watch they did watch their back. I was, definitely looking, like, for revenge probably, so they seem to be at this point in my life. It's the Gein book that you have, it talks about me and my mother's relationship, and I know she's getting older, and I said something to her at one point, and she said something that she was still afraid of me. She's, like, afraid of me. She said something to the point where, "This person will protect me from you," and I said, "What?" And I didn't it wasn't even I was just talking about, like, milk and cookies, you know, she's getting old. So this memory or this thought just slipped out of her mind. I was like, what are you saying that for? I didn't, you know, we're sitting there talking about like cookie recipes. You know what I mean? There was no tension. There was nothing going on. And so she said something like that. And I know she said once I was filming her for this thing called Shunned, a mini movie I made after I got run out of town. And she said, we were just happy that you didn't become a serial kills. That's the quote. You didn't kill, you know, she said serial kills. You know.
What do you, okay, now I want to talk about that. So you're a kid, you're enjoying Halloween. What kind of music did you listen to as a, let's say, adolescence?
Well, anything my uncle listened to. So it was like, so I listened to Led Zeppelin, stuff like that. But I also, check this out, when I was going around being a paper boy, I would go to garage sales and I found this Motown label. The label looked cool on these records. It was silver and blue, red and yellow. And it said Motown on it. And I was like, I just bought these records because the label looked cool, the label on the record. And I brought it home and I fell in love with the Jackson 5 and Motown records. I thought it was the coolest thing I'd ever heard because, you know, I was only hearing, and I don't mean to cut it like, but it was all white music. It was all like rock and roll, Leonard Skinner and stuff like that. And so I heard this and it was something totally different to my ears. So I really loved Motown as a child.
And from that, did you find
But I loved
anything
Led Zeppelin too.
Zeppelin? And as you went further, did you find anything of a darker persuasion in terms of it touching upon uh, murder, touching upon demonic fables,
Well,
movie references, stuff like that?
Led Zeppelin was pretty demonic when I was younger. They were labeled a demonic band. You know, Jimmy Page had a reputation for Crowley, and they had the backward masking. So that's the first time I took a record and tried to play it back. And I think it says "I love Satan" or something, whatever the thing was about Led Zeppelin spinning the record back. I think "Stairway to Heaven," you'd hear something backward masking, and I just fell in love with that. You know, it's like this is cool.
And what age was that?
Oh, I'm too old to figure that out. I was young. I was probably pre-16.
Okay.
So 10, 11, 12. You know, kid, I sold my I sold my soul for the first Ozzy record, and I mean that. Like, I heard it on the radio, and they were like, they played Black Sabbath. We sold our souls for rock and roll. Then the DJ comes on. Ozzy Osbourne's got a solo album coming out next week, and I'm like, I'll sell my soul for that record. And I had it in 2 weeks. Boom. So maybe that's where my soul went.
Now, around 16, you know, we sometimes kind of pull back a little bit on some of the things, then we go back to it later in life in regard to Halloween time. But I'm sure every Halloween got you excited regardless. And as you got a little older, 16, 17, the music was a huge part of your life. Art was part of your life. What was Halloween like for you around 17 years old?
Oh, that's interesting. 17. You know, it from what I can remember, it was I remember, okay, the Hill House. There was a house with the divorced mother and her children went crazy, and that's where we would drink beer and smoke weed. And I remember one of the first Halloweens there, I that was the first time I got well, that wasn't the first time I got drunk, but it was the first time I drank with people like at a party and I was drinking peppermint schnapps. And my father was he was a working class a pipe fitter, and he drank when he got home from work, so he got drunk a lot. And so the only way I understood drinking was to drink until you're drunk. You just drank. You drank a lot. So I guzzled this peppermint schnapps down at one of these first Halloween parties then, and got really, you know, out of it. I think I maybe even vomited.
And yeah, I may have asked you this before, but at that age, what was your perspective at that age? Because you have a different perspective now or evolved. But at that age, what was your perspective on all of the things that a lot of people consider to be fictitious? Everything from ghosts to hauntings to demonic possession. Like,
Well,
was your mind in that location at least attracted to the aesthetics at that time?
I'm definitely a weird person out of people. I guess I don't know if people are going to relate to me. I spent my summers at a funeral home. My mom's aunt and uncle. I called them uncle too, but they were my great uncle. Let's say and they had a funeral home in Millstadt, Illinois, Creason Funeral Home, and I would spend my summers there. And so as far as ghosts, I saw that at an early age. I dealt with that stuff. So um, I had a I had an understanding, like, I remember it was like my mom's great aunt was there. She was very old and wrote in diaries. Wrote these big all these had stacks of these journals she would write every day, and she was like 80 when I met her, so she had just stacks of journals from what I remember. And I remember we'd sit in the funeral parlor and help put out flowers and help get it ready for the person's funeral. And I'd sit in the chair, and I remember one time I was looking and watching things, and she saw my eyes were going. She goes, "You can see it. You're a seer. You can see it, can't you? You can see things." And I was like freaked out because I felt like I was seeing not you couldn't see an image, but you saw like an energy, like the flowers were moving, weird shit was going down. And I don't, of course, who knows? Maybe I was just creeped out, but she said that to me then. And I was like, "Oh shit, that's what was sort of scary." But
What do you think you saw at that time?
oh,
Looking back.
I didn't see anything visible. It was more of a feeling that you're like you almost like wind. You don't see the wind, you feel it. Do you know what I'm saying? So
I do.
I saw flowers moving in a room that didn't have any air moving. Like all of a sudden we put the flowers down, they'd stop moving. We're looking at things, then they'd start moving in a weird way. And so it was just like, huh, that's strange. And then you just sort of see, oh, it's like a blur almost, like it's just what am I don't know. It's hard to say what I saw, like
Sure.
it's something you can't put words to. Uh,
I
you
appreciate your rational perspective because I run into a lot of bullshitters. They'll just play it up for whatever reasons,
No,
and
well, I can't put words to it either because
right.
it's not something you like. I'm not gonna say I saw an energy, I saw light, I saw this. I did see flowers moving. I would see that kind of weird movement more than once. Whatever, that could have been a road tremor, who knows, of course. But there was, like I said, it was more of a feeling. But of course, you're in the room with the dead person, and that's gonna create a vibe. And it's usually what I observe from hanging out at funerals all the time. Most people are there thinking about themselves. They're thinking about their own mortality. There's only about 3 people there that are actually crying tears over the person in the coffin, and they're like the wife, the kids. They're up front. They're in the front row, and those people are really weeping for that person. They're gonna miss them.
Of
But
course.
everyone else that's crying, they're thinking about themselves. They're thinking about their own mortality. They're thinking about if anyone's gonna be at their funeral, stuff like that. And I would hear stuff like that, in the conversation too, so
Do you think that at that age, growing up in that environment, in the funeral home, and then feeling certain things that you just can't explain, uh, did that draw you a little deeper into what some might perceive as darkness, but your interest in death and murder, whether it be in fiction or in real life accounts of serial killers?
well, I don't know if I'm any more interested in it than everyone else. I just see it differently. I see it as humorous or ridiculous. I'm not afraid. I don't think death is a special thing. It's part of our existence. So we all have it. We all experience it. So it's only special when someone loves you or misses you or liked your artwork. Like Ace Frehley just died. Oh, we're all thinking about our childhood with this guy. And so it's like it's that's his life was special. His death isn't really that. It's just something we think back on this person's life. So I just look at things differently. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I've just always been this person. I've always just tried to keep being myself. That has not offered a good that doesn't make friends. That doesn't make you a lot of friends. You're not going to be a politician when you're just yourself, you
Oh,
know. And
yeah,
so
amen on that.
yeah, I've just gone through my life being who I am, and I've just been interested in the things that I'm interested in, and when people I remember a few years ago when I came back to Chicago, my uncle from DuQuoin, Illinois, was like, "I know why you got into that Satan stuff. It's because of that Kiss record you bought." I bought the first record I ever bought was Kiss Destroyer, and my out of my own money, I bought that, and he's like, "'Cause you were in the Kiss, it brought you into Satanism and stuff." And I thought that was the funniest thing, because I was just into Kiss. Everyone was though,
Oh
man. I was
yeah,
like,
so was I. Yeah. First record Kiss Alive too.
I thought if that were the case, in my head, I'm thinking, I didn't tell my uncle this. If that were the case, everyone would be into Satan, bro. Kiss sold a lot of records.
See, but according to a lot of these preacher types that are online, that I think they're disingenuous. They do claim everyone is being controlled by Satan.
Well, in LeVay's world, in the term like Satan being self, uh, they are.
Sure.
But there's no real Satan, or there's no real superhero named Satan. I'm gonna call him a superhero. But you know what? My early childhood, a lot of teachers would say I got off on negative attention, and I didn't understand that a lot of times. Don't pay attention to Shane. He's looking for negative attention. Just leave him be. Don't pay attention to those jokes. Whatever it was, I'd start throwing spitballs then. You know, I remember spitballing then, out of straws, and the teacher would go crazy. All my teachers went crazy. So, I'm sure a psychiatrist could listen to this and break it down like, this is how this kid is, but it's just how I was. And I was unrepentant, and I still am. I just like being who I am. I
No,
do like trouble. I do like causing problems.
good problems, man. You tell a great story, and that's for sure.
Oh,
And
thanks.
you have, but that's from a life full of experience, and at this point now, you're continuing to forge your perspective, hone your craft as a human being, and then maybe master it one day. But do you had that experience at the funeral home? And again, I'm curious. I'm a curious guy because I've gone through an evolution too. Do you feel like at some point there would be a definition for what you experienced outside of your own death? Because we don't know what's going to happen after that. We can say we do, whether it's going to be darkness and nothing, or you're going to have another existence and it's going to be like, wow, you just woke up in the video game room and said, what the hell is this? And this has all been a simulation.
Oh, you think, do I believe in an afterlife?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't care. See, I don't care. I don't care if there's a God. I don't care if Christ greets me at the gate, because as long as and I went to Catholic school and I get it, like, I'm just me. And so as long as that's the case, I figure I'm okay. No matter what happens next, I'm okay because I'm just me. I'm not feeling guilty about that. And I think feeling guilt is a good thing. If you feel guilt, you should stop doing what you're feeling guilt about. You should stop that.
sure.
If you start feeling guilt, don't if you're reaching in grandma's purse to take the $100 bill and you feel guilt, don't do it. That's probably a sign that you're doing something wrong. Yeah, but who am I to say what wrong is? I'm not the person.
So in other words, you're just simply not, you say you don't care. In other words, you're not really interested in the afterlife. You're interested in life.
Yeah, I'm interested in life. I think are we part of the universe? I'm an agnostic in the Carl Sagan sense of the word. We're all stardust, all this great shit. So I think energy dissipates, moves into things, goes around. Yeah, I think I can believe in I don't discount ghosts and spirits and stuff. And I sure as fuck hope I can be a ghost. I want to get my revenge from beyond the grave. Like, if there's any place I can get my power, my revenge, it'll be from beyond the grave, and I swear to you, any enemies listening, if there's a case that there's a ghost, you're gonna know it. You're gonna know there's a spirit world when I die, because 'cause I'm coming for you.
Okay, I'm giving you that free reign. Create a scenario for me. You are now a ghost in a house, and this family who loves their life, never really had anything bad happen. You're trapped in their, 5-bedroom house, 3-level house. What are you going to do?
Give me more. Do they have
Okay.
children? Do they have dogs? Do they have
Yes.
cats?
Uh,
What?
happy daughter, happy son, wife, husband, she might have a secret pill addiction. He might be banging the secretary.
Now you see, they got kids. I got to look into how, I got to think about this at that point. I hope as a spirit, I am all knowing, and then I can go, DNA is DNA to kill them all. Or no, they can be changed. I hope I have all the answers as a spirit, then I can make moves. But then it's like, if they have, it's like, oh, if I do something to this person, the dog's gonna starve. I can't bother with it. I don't want the dog to be bothered. What do I do?
Oh, I mean, you're leaning towards like demonic shit. I mean, what about? I mean, okay.
How dare you call my shit demonic? I'm just being me, baby.
Kill the dog.
Well, I didn't say kill the dog. I said I said I can't hurt the guy or the people because the dog might starve.
Well, I just saw that movie, Good Boy, and the dog went with the sister at the end. So
I don't want anything. So I'm just saying, like, they have children, so I'd have to consider that. See, it makes it hard to do something.
What about scaring the shit out of them?
That's what I would do, but I don't know. Again, I have a conscience, and then I would think about the psychology of scaring people and how they actually like that. Like, it's like, because we don't have ground panthers, panthers hunting us and bears hunting us and killing us. We need those scares. We enjoy it. It gets us off. There's chemicals that will get off and it makes a sexual, ask cops who kill someone. They go home and the best sex they ever had, and when they're shot at and they shoot at people. So fear drives a pleasure. That you derive pleasure from fear. You derive pleasure from a roller coaster ride. You derive pleasure from being the scare. That's pleasureful. So I don't want to scare them because I give them pleasure. So it's like, what do I do? So maybe I would do something to the man so he couldn't get hard again. Like help for his food. It's like, I'm going to take pleasure. How do I take pleasure away from this person? How can I corrupt his taste buds so he doesn't taste anything anymore? How can I take his hearing away? Take some of his sense. If I want to fuck with this person, get revenge, I want to take their senses away. That way it doesn't bother the kids so much. Who knows though? The ripple effect, that all of a sudden the guy becomes abusive. He can't hear. He starts slapping everyone around. Ah, man, I feel guilty. I don't need to feel the guilt. So I'm the sensitive ghost here. I'm the sensitive spirit. I don't know how to navigate this one. But trust me, I'm going to work at getting my revenge somehow at you. So not you, but the general you. If you're on my shit list, I'm coming for you. And I'm going to be in that house and I'm going to figure something out. And I probably won't be that thoughtful. I probably will just be mean-spirited and do something. I will get in your head and I will do something that will just destroy you.
Did you ever see the movie, allegedly based on a true story, and I've spoken to some of the people involved in the past, the movie The Entity with Barbara Hershey? I think it came out in like 82, 1980.
Oh, I'm writing that down though because I'm going to watch it.
Oh man, check that one out. The Entity. Martin Scorsese called it one of the most terrifying horror films ever made.
He's my favorite. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's great. Taxi Driver, I think, is my favorite movie.
Absolutely one of my top favorite movies. Absolutely top 3. What's the movie about?
The Entity?
Yeah.
Well, it's based on a woman named, her real name was Doris Byther. Her name in the film is Carla Moran. She's a single mother. And the movie opens with her driving home from work. Okay, so there's no like pre-conjuring scene that then something jumps out at you, a computer-generated ghost, and then we're back with the happy family. It just opens with a woman driving home from work. She goes in the garage. She's talking to her teenage son who's working on his car. She's a single mom. Walks in, kisses her daughters goodnight, goes in her bedroom, starts brushing her hair in the mirror. And then she's feeling cold. She smells something, and then something bashes her in the mouth, and she doesn't know what it is. Then it throws her on the bed and has its way with her. And she thinks that she can't process it. She thinks that something broke into the house and essentially raped her on the bed. This goes on and on. she thinks she's losing her mind until other people witness some of the phenomena where things are flying off the walls and everything. And this is a documented case by parapsychologists, one of which Barry Taff I talked to in the past and interviewed, from at that time UCLA. They had a parapsychology department, and there were 8, 9 witnesses. Obviously, no internet, no Photoshop. They were able to take photos that experts of the day and even now look at and know that light couldn't bend that way, or certain things that they recorded are just were impossible to fake at that time.
I do that. That's me. I'm the entity. I'm definitely doing shit like that. I don't know about the rape stuff, but it's possible. I'm not saying I'm not gonna do that, but I'm not looking to give pleasure. So I'm not saying rape's pleasurable. Oh God. But I'm just saying I'm not looking to even get in that zone. I'm not, you know, okay, maybe some nipple twisting, but that's it.
Let me ask you a question. Was there ever a movie, and it could be in the world of horror or on the outskirts of that, that disturbed you after you were finished watching it and you were alone and it made you completely uneasy? Was there anything like that, or are you exhilarated when you see these things?
The one that comes to mind is this movie, and I wish I could remember the name of it, but it ends with the guy. He's like he's a paid. They pay him to have sex or whatever, brutal rape sex, and then they take off the hood, and I think it's his wife and his child or something like that.
Oh, a Serbian film.
That's it.
Yeah.
That one there definitely was like, oh wow.
Yeah, that was rough.
So I was just like that one. It's see, I could bring that up in my mind right away. I was like, that was too much for me. I was like, oof, that was something else, my guy. That was something else.
Yeah, I had a
That,
similar experience with that. And did you ever see Pasolini's Salò?
I have seen Salo. I enjoyed Salo. You
Oh, I
know,
mean, it's a powerful film by a
it is
brilliant man. You know,
right. I think it was a documentary.
yeah,
It I felt and again, that Serbian film, it was also like, people are pretty dark. Humanity's pretty dark. That's why Halloween serves us well. We get away from those things for a
yeah,
night.
yeah. I mean, like yeah, Halloween is a Disney celebration in comparison to some of the things that politicians are doing behind the scenes.
Well, yeah, but I think it's a way for us to it's an escape route for that. It's us to we're the monsters today. It's empowering. I think it's empowering.
What were your go-to Halloween music and movies? And it could be at any age.
So here's the one movie I was also going to say that is always in my mind, but I don't think it disturbed it. I guess it did. It did disturb me. Mark of the Devil.
Oh
And
yeah,
my parents took me to that when I was like 5 years old at a drive-in, and were kept telling me, "Go to sleep in the back seat," while they watched this torture film. But I watched it. I was watching it from the back seat, and scenes like the water torture, the water dripping on the person's head, and the tongue getting ripped out, and all this weird shit stuck in my head. And that movie came with me. That came with me to the funeral home. That came with me to today. That movie there, Mark of the Devil, left a mark on this devil.
oh yeah. I watched it not that long ago. Udo Kier. Yeah, man. Um, what else did you watch some of the more pop horror films like Halloween and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I went to go see Friday the 13th with a friend when it first came out. Yeah, I was a young man. I forget the age. Um, and I remember the friend left early. They were like, "I don't want to watch any more of this," and they left. And I sat there, and I'm sitting there, and literally had the popcorn in my lap, eating a little bit, and the last scene where the mom jumps out of the water, or maybe it's Jason jumps out of the water. The last scene is, I think it's Jason, right? Jason.
In Friday the 13th, yeah.
Yeah, Jason jumps out of the water at the end. There's nice serene, and then she's in the boat, and it looks like the end of the movie, and then rah, I jump out of my skin, and the popcorn flies in the air. It's like it's so quaint now to think about it. So nice and innocent, but it's great.
That
Yeah,
feeling, that okay, I haven't had that feeling in so long, but I
Right.
remember it. I remember that what exactly what you just described. It's literally like going down 60 miles per hour on a roller coaster. It's a similar feeling in the gut. And I haven't had it in so long since I was a kid. And I had it at the same scene you did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
I have a painting of that scene where Alice is, well, just before Jason comes up, it's that serene moment where she's on the canoe and I'll show it to you. And it's just dark, murky water. And she's just leaning over the canoe. And it's just before the cops show up and Jason jumps out of the water.
I
I
love
love
this.
that scene.
Yeah, that's a great yeah, I love all the classics. I remember watching The Exorcist at a neighbor's house right next door in the suburb of Streamwood where I would do that trick or treating, and, they had the VCR on the block, and Dieter would rent movies, Tony's father, and he played The Exorcist, and when they opened the door for me to leave, I literally they had steps that went up to their house. I jumped down the steps and I ran to my house where it probably was 2 steps, 1, 2, and I was in my like, I had such long I was jumping basically. My run was so launch I was launched. I was fucking I gotta get in my house. I was so afraid after The Exorcist, and I have no idea why, but I
You
was.
know, okay, so now here's the thing. I've done as much research as possible, especially for the last movie I just am finishing up now. And I wonder if some of this phenomena is a projection of us. In other words, let's say poltergeist phenomena, whatever, we might be capable of more than we know. And that fear that you were feeling from The Exorcist, people go home, they have nightmares, but then other people experience more. And I wonder if it's just a projection. Do you believe in any of that? That it could be some kind of psychic projection? You could literally manifest an entity. It was suggested even in the entity by her psychiatrist that this is all a projection of your repressed sexualities.
I do, I do. I do you know what? Have you ever heard of the telepathy tapes?
No, but I'm happy to look into them.
Great podcast. So they talk about telepathy and all that. They really get into this mind kind of stuff, and with evidence. It's not it's a really intelligent podcast. It is not conspiracy driven. These are journalists and documentarians and filmmakers and scientists and people who are, like bringing out the CIA documents of mind control studies. I mean, mind projection and telepathy and reading mind, just great stuff. And yeah, I do believe in the power of the mind. I think humans it shows how enslaved we are to these systems of control. How, dogs, cats, they have that intuition, that telepathy. And this telepathy tapes talks about stuff like that. And yeah, I do think there's a lot of projection in all of our lives where we create the life that a lot of times our parents lived. We're living in this psychological loop. We're all, like what they say, break the cycle. So we're in these cycles of reliving our parents' life or something. So we sort of project that we marry the person that is like the person our parents married, stuff like that, the parent that influenced us the most. And so, it's like these weird projections that you families keep living these generation to generation until someone breaks it, until someone goes no more, and someone does something different. And so, yeah, I do think about that psychologically is probably true.
That's interesting too, because that I wonder if that manifests its own monster in a way, hanging on when you're
I
trying to
think,
break that cycle.
yeah, when I look in prisons now, when I think about the women's movement, I think about the Me Too movement, I think about things that have been going on politically, and then I think about prisons. I think, women have been treated like cattle, forced to have kids. That was my mom's only way out of the house. And she didn't want to have me. She didn't want to have kids. She wanted to be a model. She wanted to be a so I think when you talk about me being a little devil, people talk about me being a problem child, all this stuff. I think that is a projection of that. There was this projection onto her children, like this is Not that she didn't do the best she could. I think she did. But that doesn't mean that she did the best as a parent. And I think when I look at prisoners, I've studied serial killers, stuff like that. When I look at that stuff, I think that's a projection of a lot of enslavement, working class enslavement, women having to have children, forced to have children, cannot have abortions. They are illegal. Men having to, provide, do these things, provide and live in this marital bondage. I think there's a lot of projection onto children that creates um, monsters. Whether those monsters are full blown serial killers, full blown criminals, full blown murderers, or they're just like become alcoholics, drug addicts, or just miserable, depressed people. Just I don't know if I think maybe people that go along with the system and just go 40 hours a week and do their thing and go home and watch TV or whatever they're doing might be worse than the serial killer. Because this system is really a bad thing. It's a bad thing.
Yeah, it seems so complicated, and there's so many different tentacles to the
Oh yeah.
to the dynamic of this whole thing. Of how a human being is shaped. And it could be physical damage. It could be the conditioning that you were just talking about that takes a long time, and then there could be generational effect and all that stuff. But all right, first off, there's a huge difference between what culture celebrates in droves, which is okay. For just one example, Michael Myers walking around stabbing people movie after movie. They love it. They buy dolls of him, t-shirts. I'm guilty of it. I have this stuff hanging all over my office. But then there's that borderline, right, between fiction and reality. We cross over, and now you're in real serial killer land. And you're one of the people who walked over the border and said, screw this, the fictional stuff. I'm really interested in the real guys. And other people too, especially these days with all the true crime obsession and podcasting. At what point do you feel like it was like, wow, I'm more interested in seeing the real guys, not these cartoon versions of them?
Well, first of all, the horror of my life is watching all this stuff make money. When I'm one of these people that were blazing that trail. Was one of the first people that was doing this stuff, and to see people make a ton of dough at true crime podcast stuff like that just murders me because I'm like, where's my cut?
Well, okay. How about this? Can you first put it in perspective how it was when you were starting it and how taboo that whole situation was? It was very much a taboo, no?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The state's attorney of the assistant state's attorney of Illinois, the one who put Gacy to death, that helped the state's attorney. He really dug me, so he did an interview with me early on, and he asked me, he's like, I there was a newspaper article about me working with Gacy, and he oh fuck it. Gacy's lawyer contacted me and let me try on Gacy's jacket. He was arrested, and I got to hold the wallet with the receipt in it. All of Gacy's stuff, I got to go through because he wanted me to help him sell it. Then the assistant state's attorney, got a hold of me, gave me the pogo photo off of Gacy's bar, the really very crisp photo, the one that you see all the time of him in the pogo costume is blurry, but I had the real one. But that state's attorney sat down with me, and he would say that I'm not doing anything different than the journalist, when I do what I'm doing, and to not feel so bad about it. Because I was like, man, people think I'm glorifying serial killers and stuff like that, but I don't see it being any different than a lot of stuff. And he's like, it's not. You're doing the same thing that they're doing on America's Most Wanted, which was a popular TV show back then.
Just for a bit of history, where did it all begin, and what it exactly, if you could define it, was it? Was it a fan club? Did you collect memorabilia?
Are you asking why I crossed the line?
Yeah, no, describe what you were doing when you crossed it. Like what was it that you were giving to your audience? Like how did it start? What would you define it as?
Yeah, I never gave anything to the audience. It was to me. I was a child and the Gacy stuff was happening and it was all over the news and it was in the newspapers. And then I remember riding my bike down there and listening to journalists and cops and ambulance people talking about what was in the house and all this other stuff. But that never made it into the newspaper. So it was truly like the idea when I grew up, I understood that I heard this line, read between the lines. And that's what you had to do in these newspapers was read between most people understood what that meant. I didn't. I was like, I literally, I wanted like literal explanations of what they were talking about. I was wondering why they kept facts out of these newspapers. So that was where I started. I wanted to know more about it. Then there was the idea, like I said, my mother, like I'm glad you didn't become a serial killer. So when I read about Gacy's childhood, and I read a lot of the times early on, they were pinning these serial killers to being because they were abused as a child. And I was like, well, why am I not a serial killer? I wanted to understand these people that I related to their child, what I was told was their childhood. And so I was wanting to know more about them. And so, but I never had that interest to do what they're doing. And so I, had wondered about, what was going on there, why them, why not me?
So that was a personal journey at
Yeah.
first before
Most
you.
everything I do is just trying to figure things out and learn. And then there's this journalistic integrity that I have where I want to present a story. I want to present I want to share what I've learned with other people. And that's this, I guess, what I've been told is a journalistic quality.
Was there an image you saw, or it was just started with you hearing things on the news about Gacy? I mean, did you see pictures? Did you have an interest in old books in regard to serial killing?
Okay. Before Gacy, my parents kept this bookshelf in the bottom cabinet was locked and it had all their adult books in there. And I would break, I'm a smart person. I'm told. And so I picked the lock and broke into this cabinet and would look at their dirty books. And there was a book in there called something like Bad Men, Bullies and Bad Men, or Bullets and Bad Men. It's a classic book about true crime. I want to look it up now, but I'm not going to. But it's an old book. I was young then. I was maybe 10, 15. So we're talking 50 years ago. And it was like one of these first paperbacks that was about serial killers and true crime. And I was like, why is it in here with all these weird, like 101 sex positions and all these weird books? Why is this in there? Why is this locked away? Because it was like with all this sex stuff. And so that was weird to me, but it's not so weird so much after, like I remember when I was selling Gacy paintings for Gacy, I was selling them for him. His nephew would drop him off at the bar, and a person came in and bought it, and I'd meet him in the back alley and give him like $5,000. And he's like, yeah, this is going in our dungeon. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, we have a gay bondage place over in Boys Town. You should come and visit it. And I'm like, you're going to put the painting in there? And in my head, I'm like, he killed gay people. Like in my head, I'm thinking that. And he's like, yeah, we're going to put it right in the centerpiece, right over the mantle. It's going to be great.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay. And the first thing I thought at that point was my parents having that book in their sex collection. I was like, okay, there's something that's sexual about this for people.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
I have seen the dark shadows moving in the woods, and I have no doubt that whatever I have resurrected is sure to come calling for me.
It was the woods themselves. They're alive.
Evil Dead. They got up on the wrong side of the grave. Evil Dead from New Line Cinema.
Starts Friday at these theaters. Check your newspaper for times.
Carving your own Halloween pumpkin can be a lot of fun for grown-ups.
Hey kids, isn't this fun?
But with a pumpkin cutter, children of all ages can easily design and carve their own Halloween pumpkins in complete safety. The pumpkin cutter is simple and safe to use. There are no sharp edges, yet it quickly cuts through all pumpkins smoothly. Any child can learn to use the pumpkin cutter the very first time. Make this Halloween extra special with the pumpkin cutter.
Available at Pathmark, Genovese, and Rickles Home Centers.
Dear Great Pumpkin, I'm looking forward to your arrival on Halloween night.
They're back, all the little Peanuts characters, in a happy Halloween special, filled with ghosties and ghoulies and things that go bump in the night. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, Monday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain.
Coming soon, a ghostly new adventure from the creator of Montauk Chronicles, the Strange World TV series, and History Channel's The Dark Files. A haunting we will go. Your body will shiver when evil visitors arrive in the night. Lock your doors when weird kids invade your neighborhood on Halloween. Brace yourself when angry spirits possess your body. Beware of the games you play past midnight, as you might open doorways beyond the grave. When the witching hour is upon us and the undead come to the party, it's time to question your very existence. What are those whispering voices in the night? It's not just the wind. A Haunting We Will Go is the first chapter of Christopher Garetano's new exploration into the unknown. Be sure to visit ahauntingwewillgo.com for more information.
This series presents information based in part on theory and conjecture. The producer's purpose is to suggest some possible explanations, but not necessarily the only ones, to the mysteries we will examine.
In regard to Gacy and Ted Bundy, and a lot of them were sexually driven one way or another. No,
cops talk about when they shoot and kill someone, they go home and have the best sex ever. That's been documented more than once with cops interviews and stuff like that. Like, it turns them nuts.
do you think a good portion of society is being held back from a desire, and perhaps the horror films that we ingest placate that?
Helen Morrison, the person who has Gacy's brain in her basement, I got to interview her, and she said it's a drug addiction. Once you feel it, once you feel those chemicals pulsing through your veins, just like when you do cocaine or anything else, you want more. You want more of it. It's an adrenaline, right? There's a bunch of chemicals that process. There's chemicals, I guess, you let off when you're being attacked sexually that help you get through it. And
that's interesting if you think about the psychiatry involved in how a whole society loves these movie serial killers, celebrates them. We have dolls of them. We have statues of them. And do you think that's some kind of repressed desire for violence?
I do think it's something. There is something there that we don't kill our own food. We get our food presented on styrofoam mats, wrapped in cellophane. So there's no violence to our anything in our life anymore. It's been stripped away. And so I think there is something to that. Whether I don't think we want to be serial killers, but there is something to that innate that excites us about killing a chicken and eating it, head and all. Like, yeah, that's who we are. We're animals, and we forget that. You hear people all the time separating themselves from the animals all the time. Humans will people in general public will always be like, they'll say something to the effect of, well, that's an animal. And I'm like, yes, so are you. Or aren't you afraid of taking a bus over there? I'm like, no more than I am afraid of any bus with any people in it. They're all animals with teeth. They can all hurt me. 80-year-old woman can hurt me. I don't, if a fucking human being's an animal. Animals, you got to keep your eyes on them.
And so okay, and I want to ask you this, and just know that I'm respectful of your story, all of this, but I'm curious, like, what you were feeling, because I know my own feelings amongst all this stuff, but I'm interested in you. So what were you feeling as you got a little deeper? So you're interested now in learning all these facts about Gatesy. You have now gone full force into your interest in serial killers. You're probably reading every book you can get your hands on, going through documents, and now firsthand acquiring items. And what now? You were kind of a broker for some of the artwork, like you owned a collection. You were
Yeah,
collecting.
I was working with a person who was an agent, like, he ran a bar, Bucktown Pub, Mike Johnson, and he made a deal with Gacy to buy paintings and sell them, and then Gacy's nephew would come in and deliver them. And then we started working on the Question of Doubt collectible book, so I helped with that. And then we did a Gacy 900 number, so he was making money off that. And so I helped with that. He's sort of a protege to this guy. He was a mentor of mine, Mike Johnson. And so he's like, "You want to go meet Gacy? You can come with me anytime you want." I'm like, "No, I don't want to meet him." And he's like, "Why?" Everyone wanted to go meet Gacy, but me. And I said, "Mike, I'll fucking jump across the table and beat the shit out of that dude. I was an abused person. Like, I'll fucking kill him. I will fucking rip his eyes out." That's what I said to him. I said, "You don't want to bring me, my guy.
See,
I
that's
will
interesting to me.
I will fucking violently kill him. I will fucking smash his skull in." Like that, I could not even be in that room with him. And so as a person who's been abused and so, I was just not, I could not tolerate, I would not be able to sit there for it.
Can you
Richard
can you
Ramirez, on the other hand, I could hang out with.
right?
So that's different, I guess.
Can you put into words what that is? Because a lot of people would say, well, this, Shane, he's a sick guy. He just likes reading about serial killing because he wants to. Now, you just made very clear that you would destroy this guy. So how do you describe, and I know for me, but how do you describe the interest in crime, true crime, serial killers, it's so widespread now, to the people that don't understand and think it's because you want to kill or something?
Yeah, well, people do that to anyone who's comes from poor people. They do it to women. The women are crazy when they express themselves. Poor women, poor people are crazy. They must want to do this. But I'm going to go back to what the state's attorney said. It was journalistic, and that's exactly what it was for me. I was just interested in the facts. I was interested in the stories. I was like, wow, this is wild. Why isn't this being reported like this? There's more to this story than meets the eye. I want to get the story between the lines. So I was just like an investigative journalist, and that's how I felt the whole time. I would go out and ask questions and want to know more and more and more until I got the story straight for myself. And then, as a publisher, I wanted to figure out how to do something with that. As I grew into a publisher, I started publishing comic books, and that was just part of the culture. So with anything I'm a part of, I want to come to the party and know the most about it. So, you know, the culture I was involved with, is the aesthetic terrorism movement, art that kills. We were art that kills is an idea that the generation I came from was in direct conflict with the hippies of peace and love. We were hate and violence. So I wanted to understand this more than anyone else. So Adam Parfry's studying it, other people are studying it, other people are putting out books, but they're all privileged kids with rich parents who help them get through college, stuff like that. I'm a high school dropout, so of course I want to murder people. What the fuck? No, I wanted to understand what the story was. What did I feel? Nothing more. There was I can't think of too many things that got me sexually excited. I can't think of any. But what got me excited originally was Gacy's stories, because they were like the newspapers presented them titillating. But when I found out facts, I was like, this is awful. There was nothing cool. There was nothing titillating about it. But when they brought up homosexual sex, it seemed sexy in the newspapers. The newspapers present this stuff as sexy. The last thing I ever watched for serial killing stuff, that when I gave up on this stuff, was like the BTK stuff. And I watched this CBS special, and and I read the police reports and I knew all about it. So I'm watching the show, and they show him in the bed with the woman, and he smokes a cigarette and he gives her a couple puffs of the cigarette like he's being kind before he rapes her. And that's not what happened in the police documents. He's putting a cigarette on her face, and he's getting off on the smell of her flesh as he's raping her and killing her. And so I was like, that's enough. And then they had a vanilla ice cream commercial right in between that scene. And I was like, this is just laughable. I go, I just can't even watch this stuff anymore because they're so dishonest, they present it as titillating and sexual when it's, for me, nothing like that. I'm not, I have never had that idea to want to do that. I'm not putting down people that are wanting to do that either, wanting to put cigarettes out on their lovers. Maybe that's cool, but I've never done it, and I've never want it to be done to me.
So I think a lot of people, they can't fathom what it would be like to be in a room when one of these men are killing someone. And I think you can imagine what that is.
I can. I've read enough about it where it's like, I'm like, people put down this new Ed Gein movie that presented the Stone. We're talking about the book here. We haven't talked about the book, but they talk about this Gein monster thing, and a lot of people are like, well, it wasn't true to the facts, all this stuff, and I'm like, good, maybe I'll watch it. I'm like, why? And I'm like, there's a ton of Ed Gein movies about the facts. There's documentaries. There's a ton of them. Who cares? I'm glad someone's doing it in a fantasy way and taking it another take, making them doing just what CBS should have did with the BTK killer then. Make him this outrageous monster and make it a fictional fictional story. Versus,
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was an opera that, at the magnitude that it was made, with movie stars, the amount of money that was behind this, the production value, and the length of it was literal cinema science fiction. 30 years ago, it would have never been made.
Did you see the Dahmer one?
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Okay, so that's the first serial killer thing I've watched in well over a decade, maybe 15 years. Yeah, 15 maybe years or more. I just quit with the BTK stuff, and then so everyone kept telling me, "Have you seen the Dahmer stuff?" I'm like, "I've seen a million of them. I don't need to see another one. Trust me, I know the whole story." And I'm sick of the story. That stuff wears on you. I don't need it in my head anymore. I've had enough of that experience of serial killers, period. I know all about it. I know pretty much why they do what they're doing. I get it. I don't need to keep getting into it. I'm done with that part of my life. I'd rather watch something else. And so I watched the Dahmer thing and really enjoyed it because it was well made and was different. It showed a different side of things, and I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's just something that wouldn't have been made the way it is now. We couldn't, it was so difficult to even get something like that off the ground on the cheap, let alone a big epic, 5-hour movie. That's crazy. But it's awesome too, film history, in the terms of film history. But I wanted to mention a film to you that I think is along the lines of what you've been describing, what it could really be like. And it's actually a turn off. There were very few scenes in it that may have been intriguing sexually at all. But Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, what did you think of that film?
Loved that movie. It was art, but it was an art movie. And that movie was something that actually showed a truth. Like, what's the one called? Oh shit, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. It was an abused child. Precious?
You mean like recently made, not that long ago?
Yeah, Precious is the name. It's a film. And it shows I watched that film and it showed real child abuse where I was like, "Holy shit, that's what it's like." And I'd never seen that in film before. Everything else is cartoonish. Henry, the Portrait of the Serial Killer was one of the first films where I was like, "Wow, that's real." And they didn't show any violent yet. It was gut churning when you heard they just did the audio of the violence.
Right. At times, yeah, I know. And it was dark. It didn't feed into, I guess, any kind of glamour or even that Ted Bundy movie was silly and fun, and they made it into almost a comedy, the one that I saw.
Yeah. So, hey, you know what? You were talking about serial killers and how I watched that and I want to be a serial killer. People might think that. People might think a lot of things, but they should know one thing. I'm definitely a killer. I put my hands around your throat and choke the life out of you. You piss me off. So it's like I definitely am an animal. I've never done that, but I'm definitely capable of it. I'm a fucking animal. You're fucking right.
Oh, yeah. No.
Life, and I will kill someone. I will kill someone if it's me or them.
Right.
And definitely have the thought that goes through my mind, like, I wish I could kill you. I remember John Malkovich saying this once. It was one of the greatest interviews I heard. And I was like, man, this fucking guy's honest. He's like, sometimes I leave my house and someone says something smart to me on the street. I wish I could bash their fucking brains in and kill them. And he said it something like just like that. And I was like, yeah, exactly. I feel that same way. And I think a lot of us do.
Well, right. Yeah, of course. I know. Listen, I'm a bowl of sugar, but if you try to, hurt me, my family, or break into my home, there's going to be a problem. That's about it, though. Otherwise, I'm fine.
Yeah, well, John Malkovich was just talking about walking the streets. So I was with him. I'm like, yeah, sometimes people speak up and I want to smash their heads in too, just like you, dude. I was with him.
Well, the issue is I used to feel that way, and when I was much younger, and I would react in a not a good way, and it gets you in trouble. So I don't want to live a life of trouble.
You're right about that. I'm an older person now. I do not have those feelings anymore. Too much. I don't have them at all, actually, because like I said, I'm older. I sort of chuckle at things now. They don't upset me. I just laugh. I'm happy to be alive every day. I'm 57, so every day is a good day to me.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
In 1968, George Romero brought us Night of the Living Dead. It became the classic horror film of its time. Now, George Romero brings us the most intensely shocking motion picture experience for all times. Dawn of the Dead contains scenes of violence that may be considered shocking. No one under 17 will be admitted. From United Film Distributing Company.
Hi there, and welcome again to The Muppet Show. Hey, tonight our special guest star is one of the world's most talented but frightening performers, Alice Cooper. So, beware of ghoulies and ghosties and long-legged beasties and things that go bump in the night. That does it. I'm leaving. Here's Alice Cooper.
Welcome to my nightmare. I think you're gonna feel you belong. Welcome to my nightmare, yeah. Welcome to my breakdown. I hope I didn't scare you. That's just the way we are when we come down. Yeah. We sweat and laugh and scream here, 'cause life is just a dream here. Inside you feel right at home. Yeah. Welcome to my breakdown. Yeah.
This series presents information based in part on theory and conjecture. The producer's purpose is to suggest some possible explanations, but not necessarily the only ones, to the mysteries we will examine.
I want to talk about Ed Gein. When was do you need a break?
No.
You sure?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm positive.
When was the first time that you recall hearing about Ed Gein himself? Was it maybe you saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and wanted to look into the real story, or was it something like that?
Not the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was Psycho and Robert Bloch. Robert Bloch is from Chicago, and he wrote Psychos from what I recall. And I just remember hearing that in Chicago folklore somewhere, media, maybe on one of our radio stations talking about this guy who wrote Psycho, and it was about Ed Gein. So that's the first time I heard about it, and so it was just like it was it was bizarre. I didn't think of it like it was so. It's not like Gacy. It's not like anything else. It's just like guy was wearing skin masks and stuff like that, and I was like, wow, that's just wild. I didn't know what to think of it. Like it's just it's very original. The guy, he's one of a kind.
It's because he enjoyed probably a lot of the aesthetics that we like, whether it be in movies. He
Yeah.
was reading comic books, correct? And I know you know more than most people do about him. Can you give me a little history of Gein for the folks that haven't watched this miniseries, never heard about Gein first, and then tell me about how it progressed into your journey and your odyssey that you write about in your amazing book?
That's a rough one, but he's a mama's boy. So from a farmland, from a very small town where everyone knows everyone. But he's isolated in this very small town, which is hard to be isolated in a small town like that. And so, he has an interesting story. Like, I think he may have been trans. He really wanted to be he dressed in women's skin. And so he may be the person who is a symbol of, when people want to be something, when they feel the need to express themselves physically, leave them be, leave them to do that. They might dance with the dead in the whatever that Slayer song is. It's a great song. But so he would grave rob fresh buried graves to skin them and play with their skin. And he had the finest collection of nipples I'd ever seen, said one sheriff on some documentary I heard 20, 30 years ago. It's hilarious to hear. Finest collection of nipples I'd ever seen. I'm like, you've seen more than that? At some point I was like, hey, this is a sheriff in that town. He's seen another nipple collection. Let's get on that case. Why didn't the journalist ask, which other nipple collection did you see? Could you tell me how that one looked and where is it? Is it in your room? I was like, that was a weird comment. The finest nipple collection I'd ever seen.
Wow. What an interesting, again, for someone who is thinking at a higher level and who's mature, to be a fly on the wall when those guys entered that barn or that house and just observe.
Well, I went up there. Okay. So I took the Gein. So I did. I have the book. I stole Ed Gein's Tombstone. Tells my story about obtaining and appropriating the Gein's Tombstone. The stole is a weird thing because who you got to have someone to steal from. The person's dead. So do you really steal a tombstone? You sort of take it, reappropriate it. But I also took a guy that had Ed Gein's truck on this True Crime Warp Minds tour I did. And we were in Salem, Massachusetts, and he brought it there. And the Salem mayor wanted to ban us and all this stuff. It was crazy. But during that time, I said, prove it to me that this is the real truck. I want to know. I want, because he wanted me to help him sell it. Because I was this big broker of serial killer stuff. Like I said, Gacy's lawyer came to me and wanted me to sell his stuff. And so this guy's asked me to help him sell a truck. He took me to Bobby, I think his name is Hill, Bobby Hill's house. I think that's the name. And it's in the book though. And that's the house Gein was arrested at. He was arrested at someone else's house. And he had just had dinner there. And so we went out to the garage. This person took me out to this what looks like a garage structure, and we go in there, and he's talking outside, and he said, we haven't really done anything with this place since Gein was taken away. And we go in there, and it's like a time capsule, and it's like a corner store, but it's a garage. So it's like there's a door there, but there's shelves up with cans and stuff, like supplies that some people might need. Like there's a box of nails, and it was all full of dust, and there was newspapers there from that time. So it was like a time capsule from that moment. It was really neat. And so he takes me in there, and I'm like, so Gein could come in here? And he goes, yeah, and he talked to me about it. And then we went inside, and I sat at the dinner table that Gein had his last dinner at. So, but this is a town. I remember when I drove away from that, we're driving down the block in this truck, down the country road in this truck, and there's like 3 dead dogs hanging from a tree. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, that's regular around here. You see animals hanging gutted and stuff like that. And it was they were gutted, just like the Gein photo in his garage. So that was like,
Wow.
So when he's gutting people, he's truly treating this person like an animal, like the animal they are, just like a pig or a goat or a dog, whatever they're gutting. This is what they did to bodies of animals. And so what Gein did, it's extraordinary because it's a human, but it wasn't extraordinary if it was a pig or a goat. And so he was just doing what they did in that area. It was, like if that happened in Chicago, it might be a little more shocking, or, I think it would be more shocking because it doesn't fit here.
What's going on in Plainfield, Wisconsin?
Yeah. Well, farmers have a disregard for animals in general. Animals are to serve and to eat.
Sure.
So they're not pets like we have. They're pets they earn their keep or they die.
And I just want to say, we can walk around the nucleus of the stories in your book, because I just, to my audience, the book is so well written. It's literature. It's not just a cash grab. It is somebody that wrote a good book, and it's worth owning and worth reading. And I would read it again just because of the writing. It's just very well written, and there's fantastic information and perspectives in it. But if we could kind of talk about the story without giving everything away in the book, that's in the book, how would you describe your journey the best you can without giving too much away?
Well, I got to first start, but I really appreciate you saying what you said, and I tell you, I enjoyed packaging it like it was a cash grab. I stole it. I think it's hilarious. It was, I laughed doing it.
No, I
But
love it.
as I was writing this blog piece, I was just writing something because I was getting a zillion emails and messages about the Gein Stone, and I was you're in the new Gein movie and stuff. You're represented. And I mean, literally for a while there, it was a message a minute, boom, 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 boom. So I'm like, I got to write something and put it up, on an Instagram post or something like that. And it just grew, and it just kept growing. And I was like, oh, this is shaping up to be something else, maybe a zine, maybe a little book. And so it did. Then I asked a couple of people to contribute. My brother wrote a foreword for it. Another gentleman that runs Ed Gein collection on Instagram. He's a big fan of Ed Gein. He wrote something for it. And Claudia Berdella, a person that I work with, wrote some stuff for it. So it turned into this project amongst all of us. But it turned into this expression with me. It was weird because I talked to Ed Gein from Beyond the Grave in this book. And I used AI to help me with this. I load in all these Ed Gein videos and I say, gather all this stuff, clips, audio. I said, I want you to talk to me like you're Ed Gein, and I want to have a conversation with you about this, here's the book's title, here's the premise of the book, and I want Gein to talk to me, and we're gonna have a conversation. And my prompt is you give me one question, and then I answer it, and then you have another question after that. No, I don't want 10 questions at one time. You know what I mean? I want it to be a flow. And so we have this conversation, and I answer back as quick as, like I'm having a conversation with them. And at one point, it comes down to like I'm like, maybe I relate to you because of your mother issues, and I'm maybe because I have mother issues. So it was, it became weird, psychological. Like AI is not fun at times because it knows too much.
Oh, wow.
It knows how to get under your skin. It's too smart.
Now imagine that same AI technology in an android and the likeness of Gein, who can now sit with you and look you in the eyes. And that will be available very soon, believe it or not.
Oh, and I'm telling you, the psychology that it got under my skin. Like I was like, I can't, you got that out. And you do a wonderful interview. Your style is wonderful. I really enjoy talking with you. You've been able to bring stuff out of me that I haven't spoke of before.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you, because at some point I've done enough interviews where I sort of get they're all the same. I think you want to excel at what you do too. And I think that's why, you're not just curious, you want to excel. So you're thinking about things that are different than other people are. But what were we just talking about? Gein? Gein interviews me and he gets under my skin. And I'm like sort of irritated. I couldn't believe that happened. Like I couldn't believe that from AI, they were able to interview me and get under my skin, and I had to take a break, and I had to go for a walk, and then I had to go to the gym, and I had to think things out, and that's where this became a book. Like, I was like, "Okay, let's make this into, like, a little book, like a chapbook." Um, and that's why I asked people to contribute and stuff like that, and I said, "This is what I have so far, and this is, would you wanna contribute?" And so the people I wanted to contribute did. And it turned into I'm really happy with it, and I thought, like when you said about it being a cash grab, I was like, it's too bad most people are gonna see it like a silly thing, or no one's gonna wanna buy this because it seems like it's just a gimmick, and it is, but it's truly a final part of that performance art, you might call it, or that moment in my life as an artist that I did that. That I
It
did.
comes very much off like a beautifully written piece of literature, a documentary in literary form, and the layout is fantastic. So there's an artist and a writer behind it, and that's going to be clear to anybody who reads.
If you look at my other weird books, I've got like the bomb-ass recipes from the kitchen of Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn, Weather Underground people. I mean, they blew up the Pentagon. The cover of the book is the Pentagon with the eggplant growing out of it. And I did the cooking with the serial killer Dorothea Puente with recipes from Dorothea Puente. So I have these other books that are like a weird exploration of things in my life, like, so they become these weird chapbooks. But I am proud of the Gein. I stole a Gein's Tombstone.
I think it's going to do rather well, and I think it's something that people will. It's something that they'll keep in their shelf. And so, just a little bit more of the story, again, without giving too much away. You did steal Ed Gein's Tombstone. You were the one. Okay.
Like I said, it's hard to say. The title's called I stole, but it's like I feel like I'm being a little hard on myself, because who are you stealing from? There's no one alive. That's who am I stealing from?
Sure.
Exactly who?
But you did you ran into some heat for it, no?
Well, in the book, one of the people of the Warden family says they're happy that I did it. They say it in no uncertain terms that was a good thing that I did, taking the stone out of that was a good part of this exploitation, that the stone's gone. So yeah, I did appropriate it, and you could say I stole it, but it's like I feel I don't have a problem admitting that the statute of limitations has got to be up by now. I'm sure hoping so.
See, all right, now I can imagine, because what you wrote in the book, and I can only imagine what type of hangout that place was. And it was like a wasteland, like a teenage grungy
Yeah.
wasteland where people would just hang and maybe fuck and get together and do drugs and everything. And then at the center, and the way you described it was, there was some old lady visiting her dead relative and just trying to find some peace with all this madness happening at this little nucleus on Ed Gein's grave. Is that
Right.
is that the reason why you think people are just relieved that the thing was taken out, or is it still a wasteland?
Well, it wasn't it was like a nice cemetery, it was a creepy old cemetery, but it was very clean and taken care of except around Gein Stone. And then on Gein Stone, it literally said, "I masturbate to your picture every day." And it was like, "Oh, I can definitely take this out of here. No one's gonna give a fuck. I'll probably win awards. They'll make me mayor of this fucking town if I get this out of here." Because it was like it was obviously did not belong. It did not belong. And these people were so cool that they let it be there because they're respectful of a person being dead, which is cool. Like you should, that's not. I think that's honorable. That's a decent virtue. That's virtuous. So it's like I was like, these people are way too cool. They're way too nice. I don't think a lot of communities would let this happen. Would let this person even be buried here. But he was part of their community for good or bad, and they felt he was mentally ill, he was in a mental hospital, so they let him be buried there with his family, and so I thought that was kind of them, and I also thought there no one here is gonna care if this stone's gone. And the reason they don't put it back isn't because 'cause they're afraid it's gonna be stolen again. It's because it's a blight. It's awful. It's awful to be there. It's disrespectful. It disrespects every other person in that graveyard. And it's sort of like when Gacy would sell paintings. He talked to me and, I talked to him on the phone when I'm doing the 900 number, and he would talk about how it got him off when the victims' families would get on TV and cry about him making paintings. That's the best thing about making paintings was when they got out when I can get when I can get one of those boys' mothers to cry on TV, it's one of the best things about making these paintings. He really got off on that. And that reminded me that's what I thought of with, like, if Gein's ghost is here, he's really getting off on being amongst the people he dug up and stuff. He's just really getting off on his stone being here. So I had no problem taking it,
Now,
you
you
know?
you described somewhat of an eerie atmosphere in the town of Plainfield, and you describe it well in the book. But like, did you run into any other odd situations that aren't in the book? That a feeling you can describe that maybe you didn't fully describe in the book that you could talk about now?
Yeah, there was a moment I remember we went in I remember there was a place to eat, some diner, and I was, like, telling my brother, "I wanna go in there and get ham," like we're eating, skin. "Let's get some ham." Maybe they have ham steak, or something like that, ham and eggs. And we go in there, and there's a guy that looks like Geen. He's got the plaid jacket on and the hat, and he looks at us like he's gonna carve us up. I mean, he really, like, looked at us like he was so angry because there's these 2 city slickers with big smiles on our face, "Woo!" Skull jacket or whatever, he knows exactly why we're there. He's angry. People there were angry or not welcoming, but most were polite, but short.
Did
And
you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shane.
no, and so that was a moment that I wish I would have put in there, where it was like, this guy looked just like Geen, and then I sit down and have ham, and I'm like, I'm really enjoying this moment, I'm just taking it all in. Then I go to the Warden hardware store. It was still a hardware store now it's closed down, and looked around, and asked the guy, asked the couple that was running the place, how long have you owned it? Asked them questions. They answered until a point. And I'm like, hey, is there anything left here from when Warden owned the place? And then they sort of got quiet, and the female of the group came out there and showed me some stuff that had stickers on it from the day Warden owned it, like back then. These are from when she owned it, and I bought a teapot from 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 that time for like $5. It was hilarious.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know where that is now, but it was just for me it was a neat experience. It was like I love I love where movie locations are filmed. I was at when I was younger, I went to every location the Blues Brothers was filmed at. Every location I've been at. I've been at the mall. I saw the tire tracks. I was at the Old Man Hotel. I've been to every location the Blues Brothers was filmed at. And I love that kind of stuff. I love where films are made, and I love where these weird historic pop culture moments happen,
Oh, yeah.
where history happens. I like to be in the history. I like to be there. It's like this journalistic thing. I want to take in the vibe. You can't get enough out of like stories. You can't get enough out of a film. Films, they're only going to be able to tell you so much. But my study, there's some people who study in school. Mine is field research. I'm the field researcher. I do that. I go out in the field, I touch the dirt, I look into people's eyes, I smell the air, I go and talk to people that are around there, see how they operate, see what's going on. That's what I do, and I love doing
But
it.
that's what all the greatest professors that end up teaching in school, as you know, are just like you, not like their students.
I didn't know that. I
Well,
didn't know that. I should be a
only
professor.
the greatest ones. That's what I'm emphasizing greatest, not the guys who didn't have the guts to go out in the field, but the ones that are like, in their 70s and say, I'm kind of done and I want to give this knowledge to other people. Like Rod Serling taught
Oh,
classes at one
my
point. That
goodness, dude, he's the master. He's one of my favorite all-time people in the
But he
world.
also jumped out of a plane and had to kill a bunch of people in
Yeah.
World War II. I mean, that's that man who wrote The Twilight Zone,
That's why
actually.
he could write that. That's why he could write that, because he had to do dirty deeds done dirt cheap.
Yeah.
He was a man. He's one of my all-time favorite people in the world. I
Yeah.
talk to his daughter on Twitter here and there. I love that man. I love that.
Likewise, yeah. No, read about there's a great there's several books about him, but there's a great graphic novel about him too that goes through. He was in one of the roughest units, the Death Squad in World War II, and watched his friend's head come off. It's some incredible
Yeah,
stories.
beautiful man, beautiful writer. He really he's an artist. He did the most with words that he's one of the few people that did so much with words, so much with storytelling. He really was so influential to so many people. He's like, and then one of these great influences that people won't even realize he influenced so much. That's how great he was. He was like air.
Right. And that was all
Neat.
that experience. And you have such a unique experience that is only worthy of the greatest teachers,
Hey,
like
podcast world, can we get me a job as a professor? Because I'm getting older and it's getting rougher and rougher to sell my I stole Ed Gein's
I
Tombstone book.
bet you could, man. I bet you could. I bet you could have a fixture job somewhere in a university teaching because they'll learn so much. I mean, just reading your
People
book still. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
People are so afraid of me, bro. Like, I mean, they're very afraid because of I'm LeVay's friend, all this kind of stuff. They put it all together, and there's like, they do not know what to make of it. It's like, it's like, for me, I'm like, I don't know. It's just me. I don't have such a problem with it, but you seem to.
Yeah, I mean, I get talking to Stan and hearing those stories about his grandpa, it was like, you know, it was a warm feeling. I don't get a nefarious feeling. I get a nefarious feeling from people that want to hurt you because you admire the long life lived by Anton LaVey or someone like yourself or even myself. It's like, I find that to be quite interesting and more welcoming than somebody trying to condemn me.
I get blackballed. My horror in life, Halloween isn't it? My horror in life is I do an event, and then the event gets 10 people saying this guy's this and that, all these names they call me from all this weird shit I've done in my life. They'll pick something and, he promotes people getting killed, whatever it is that I've done. They try to identify me as that when I'm not that. I'm much more. And like I get blackballed all the time. Like, even like I'm trying to date people, and then people get involved. You don't want to be with this guy. He's Satan. All that. It's just rough.
Yeah, I think that's unfortunately the lot in life inherited by anybody that uses the S word for their personal philosophy.
Oh yeah, I guess it's a lot better than being a plumber, and I'm happy for it. And This society sucks, and it's the least I could do is fight back and push back. And if that offers loneliness, I'd rather have loneliness than friends. I'd rather I'd rather, what do they say, live on my feet than die on my knees. That's how I feel it would be. I don't want to submit to garbage. I'd rather fight for a beautiful future than live in a garbage heap that this society is.
I really appreciate that, my friend. Is there anything that we could talk about in regard to your journeys and on topic, of course, for the Halloween celebration, or anything that I may have left out that you want to talk about in regard to the book? Feel free.
Well, we talked about a lot of things. What I would love to talk, there's a song, a musical sculpture, I would say, that I did, and there's a video of it on TikTok and Instagram where I talk about throwing eggs at buses and smashing pumpkins. And that's my favorite part of Halloween. I love throwing eggs at city buses, especially because they can't really stop. They can't pull over and beat you up. And smashing pumpkins is just the greatest stuff. And there was one time I had owned this building. I'm an adult. I'm adulting, and I have this nice building in Chicago on Halsted Street. And I'm up, and it's a two-story building, tall building. I get up on the roof and I get a carton of eggs, and I'm whipping eggs at cars from the roof. And they don't know where they're coming from. They're raining from the sky.
Now, do you do this on Halloween or just any night?
Oh yeah, well, yeah, Halloween for sure. And so there's one, and then I'm at the door, and this place is a steel door, all brick. You run a tank into that place, it'd be hard to get in. So it was like a fortress. So I'm out the door, and I throw a couple eggs out the front door, and I'm not on the roof anymore, and I shut the door. And this car passes, and the guy's got his window half down, and I whip this egg, and it hits him right in the face. Bam! God! And they're all dressed up for some Halloween shit.
Listen, man.
And this motherfucker, he's so pissed off, squeals on him. Oh shit, I shut the door. He's banging on the fucking door. He calls the police. The police come. The police are outside. They knock on the door. The police start laughing. The guy's like, this fucking, starting. And they're like, hey, calm down with you're here, the Chicago cops. Hey, calm down with that voice. You don't start yelling at us. We're trying. We're knocking on the door. That we can't break into the place. And we're on the other side sort of laughing. And then you hear the cops start laughing because, it's like, the guy sounded like he deserved an egg in the fucking head. The cops leave, everything happens. The guy comes around and parks in front of the place. At this time, we head back onto the roof, and we coat the motherfucker's car. It looks like it got dredged to be fried. Like there's like 6 dozen eggs. We're like just machine gunning this fucking guy's car until he just takes off and leaves. It was great. Fucking good.
What's fantastic is that this type of mischief happened 1,000 years BC on Halloween. We still carry the same. Oh yeah, same traditions. There was one thing that happened with the Celtic Druids where they would bake something called a harvest cake. This was much more brutal than that. All the other mischief would be going on. People would be drinking, wearing costumes, warding off the evil spirits, having whatever the hell they're having, orgies. But they would bake the harvest cake and they would hold it out, and it was almost like drawing straws. The one with the burnt bottom is the one that would get slaughtered to, Balsab, the Lord of Death, or so it said.
What do you mean?
To survive the winter, because they were celebrating, they were slaughtering all their animals, they were having a blast. This was like New Year's Eve times 1,000. Plus, the netherworld opened up according to them, and this was the night where the veil was thin, so everything was coming. So that's where the costumes came from. But then they would draw straws, and so a tribal member would be slaughtered to the dark god that night. This is all part of the party.
I did not know that. I knew about the costumes to hide from the spirits and all that. I got that part of it. Oh wow, that's heavy, man.
Yeah.
That guy got slaughtered. He got slaughtered with eggs.
Or a girl.
What?
I said it would be a guy or a girl, whatever tribal member pulled the wrong piece of cake.
Oh, I see. I wouldn't even be there to eat cake. I'm sorry, my stomach is hurting. I can't eat anything today. That's what I'd be saying. I'm that guy.
And the trick or treat thing was invented to stop people from throwing the eggs. and the bricks and whatever else they were doing. They were like, okay, let's try and reason with them and give them candy.
When I was a boy, I would travel with a little piece of paper, and because I'd go far, I would walk for miles, man. I would walk from 2:30 to 10. I would just keep going and getting as much candy as I could, and I would write down addresses that were jerks, were jerky, and I definitely went back and egged their house.
They were on your shit list.
Oh yeah.
All right. Before we close this chapter, and I talked about it with you. I could talk about it. I'm definitely encouraging Shane to be part of one of the feature-length episodes of the new series of docudramas because his story's fantastic and it's very fitting. So I hope you can partake in that. But
I would love to. When are we going to do it? Let's do it quick before I'm dead.
We're going to start this year.
Oh, good. Let's do it.
Yeah.
What do you mean this year? It's 2025.
We can, but we can shoot the initial interview before the end of the year. I can just travel to you and shoot it, or vice versa. If you want to come to warmer
I'm going to be in New York on Halloween.
Yeah, I'm in Florida right now.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we'll figure it out though. I'll take care of it.
This probably doesn't matter on your podcast, but if anyone is in New York, this probably won't even make it on there. But if you know anyone in New York for Halloween, I'll be there at Quimby's Queer Store with the book.
You'll be there Halloween night?
Yes, 6 to 9.
Okay, say it again because I'll keep it on there for you.
6 to 9 at Quimby's Queer Store in Brooklyn with I Stole Ed Gein's Tombstone and other books. And anyone who shows up will get a free Ed Gein fan club dismember card. Really nice, thick credit card style, thick, beautiful card, plastic.
I love it. And are you the president of the Ed Gein fan club?
I am. I have been for a while, decades now.
So because I remember seeing those. That was you.
Yep.
Wow.
I sold pieces of the stone, slivers of the stone as a necklace.
That's so great.
I was the first person to sell the Ed Gein grave dirt, and eBay made a rule against that because of my grave dirt. They said no more grave dirt because I was selling Ed Gein grave dirt. I was selling Ed Gein tombstone rubbings, doing anything I could to hint that I had that fucking stone.
But all of this information is in the book, correct? A lot of it.
I think so.
Okay.
It should be.
More towards the later chapters and mid chapters, but it
should be. I don't know if I bragged. The book really came out in a way where it was like feelings more than just flexing,
Yeah, no. Listen, as soon as I read your brother's foreword and then got a little further into it with you, I knew it was a great book, and I was 10 pages in. So again, it might be a shorter book in comparison to some others, but at the same time, it's so rich that it makes up for it in its depth and what it's written and the literature itself. So I love it.
Oh, Jack London used to write short books like this too. That's why I thought it was cool like this.
Well, okay, so to summarize my experience with it, and again, I expected something good because I've talked to you before, and you're an intelligent guy, you're a creative guy, you have a rich history, so I didn't expect some piece of shit. But I was quite surprised regardless, because I was like, oh no, this is a piece of literature. And trust me, I wouldn't just say this. I mean it. Like I'm an avid reader, and I love everything from Burroughs to James Dickey to H.P. Lovecraft, and I thought this was great. It was beautifully written. Like I said, even your brother's foreword was beautifully written. And then getting into it and the aesthetic of the book itself and everything about it, it's just like the perfect little paperback. So I highly recommend it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate talking with you. I love talking with you, man.
Welcome back to Off to the Witch. I'm your host, Christopher Garitano, and I want to thank you for joining us on this wonderful occasion. Halloween is certainly gaining global popularity as the world is seemingly falling apart. Rest assured, I believe the pendulum will swing back in our direction. We won't be destroyed, and we'll have many more days of our lives and Halloweens to enjoy for years to come. Stay tuned, as my new Off to the Witch Presents series of documentary motion pictures is getting close to its first premiere, and you can see a special sneak preview of both A Haunting We Will Go and the second chapter, The Terror Down South, on Halloween night. Check it out on our official YouTube channel at Off to the Witch. Also, I've been talking to several potential guest hosts for future episodes of Off to the Witch, so we can keep this show going while I'm directing more of these fantastic specials and movies. I can't wait to share everything with all of you. I appreciate your love and support for the show. We have major plans for all of it and many surprises up ahead, so stay tuned, enjoy the rest of October, and have a happy Halloween. I'll lead you out with a bunch of Halloween nostalgic bumpers and trailers, and I'll see you next time.
Trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat for Halloween. Better give a treat that's good to eat if you want to keep life serene. Trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat the whole night through. Little scalawags with fiendish gags can make it tough on you. So when ghosts and goblins by the score ring the bell on your front door, better not be stingy or your nightmares will come true.
Hey, 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 it's the Fat Albert Halloween special! Gotta get those costumes today.
Yeah, Root and Rummage, they got a lot of cool Halloween costumes for tonight.
I'm gonna give me a superhero costume.
I'm gonna be a monster. What do you mean gonna be? You already are.
An MTV television exclusive. Hold on to your seats. Hold on to your arms. Hold on to everything. It's Michael Jackson's Thriller, a short film by John Landis that'll scare you out of your tree. See it here only on MTV.
Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize your neighborhood.
Michael Jackson's Thriller, first and exclusively on MTV Music Television.
Ben Mears has been away too long. And now at last, he's come home.
My men fought at Valley Forge.
Daddy, come back safe.
Home to the childhood memories, to the old familiar faces, to a life unmolested by time.
And with your saints, let him rejoice in your presence forever. We ask it through Christ our Lord, amen.
Home to Salem's Lot, a town too good to be true.
What was that?
Did you happen to notice the time when the boys left?
We shouldn't have gone through the woods.
It's a shortcut.
Well, they should have been here half an hour ago.
Wait! Danny, wait!
Something is happening. Something terrible.
Henry! Where's Ralphie?
Ralph. Where's your brother?
First the kid disappears, then this. You're not leaving Salem's Lot, are you?
I'm not leaving. Don't you understand what's happening?
Do you?
Yes, I do. It's in the Marston house. Good evening. I dreamed. You slept there all night? Yeah. A little tired. Didn't sleep much last night. I was dreaming. Somebody out there.
Sweet dreams.
I let him in.
Oh, it's only all just happened
Since I came here.
It wasn't a dream.
nothing against the monster.
They're breeding on one another. The vampires are creating vampires.
The monster wants you.
It's a geometric progression. 2 times 2 times 4 times 8.
There's a dead man upstairs.
Bill! Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil.
Look at me. Ned Tibbett's body has disappeared from the morgue.
Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Bill!
And Susan's in there.
Run! No!
Look at him.
Stephen King, the best-selling author of Carrie and The Shining, takes you on a startling journey to Salem's Lot.
Halloween is really a special time, isn't it? Especially for me. You can see why if you know who I am. Look up a little. That's me, a jack-o'-lantern. At Halloween time every year, I sit up here and watch everybody go by. It's a nice and scary time, isn't it? All those wonderful costumes and masks and makeup. I think about how much fun Halloween is. I also worry a little bit about the things that can spoil the fun of Halloween. Those kinds of things scare me too, but in a different way. For instance, look next door. That's where Corey lives.
Corey, have you got that pumpkin ready yet?
Corey's going to carve a pumpkin with her dad.
Weighs 50 pounds.
That's a big one. It probably weighs close to that.
Probably.
Come on here and set it down.
Okay.
Let me get the paper straightened out.
How's that?
That's fine. Have you decided what kind of face you're going to make on it yet?
A happy face.
I'll do that.
Now, a pumpkin's not easy to carve. I know that. You need the proper tools. But first you have to draw a face that you can carve.
You gotta be careful.
Corey's doing that.
That's a nice pumpkin face.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can cut the top off now.
Then you cut the top off so you can scoop out the insides. It takes a sharp knife. And you know sharp knives can be dangerous if they're not used right. I'm glad that Corey's father is helping her. It's much safer that way.
Eager to get inside?
Yeah.
Go ahead and pull that off.
Ew, look.
You ever seen the inside of a pumpkin before?
Yeah. Not that way.
Okay, now comes the fun part. Gotta start cleaning it out.
Getting my inside scooped out tickles me. It'd tickle you too, if you were a pumpkin. So far it's been fun. But look at Corey's hand. Kinda gooey, isn't it? Corey is going to carve the face with a small knife. Can you imagine how that knife could slip and maybe cut her? I hope Corey will do the safe thing. Good, that's a lot better. A clean, dry hand can hold a knife safely, and cut with it safely too. Cut slowly, carefully, in small slices, and always cut away from yourself.
Thank you.
Make sure there's an adult, or someone a lot older than you, who can help you if you need help. That's the safe way to carve a pumpkin. I'm glad Corey isn't going to spoil her Halloween fun. Carve carefully. That's one way to have a Halloween that's fun and safe. But what about having a candle burning inside your pumpkin? Well, I'm sitting on brick, but a candle and a pumpkin on a wooden porch might not be safe at all. A flashlight could be a lot safer then. But it's best to stay away from lighted candles that are inside or outside of jack-o'-lanterns. You know why. Well, not everybody carves a pumpkin on Halloween, but just about everybody does dress up in a costume. For instance, look across the street there. Do you see what I see? That robot is Jeremy in his costume.
Oh, Jessica, it's you. How do you like my costume? You look great.
Well, it may look great from the outside, but from the inside, things don't look very good at all. Jeremy can't see very well with his robot head on, and I don't think the rest of his costume lets him walk very well. He can't bend his knees.
How are you going to walk in that? I don't know.
It's hard for Jeremy to keep his balance. If Jeremy went out like that, he might keep losing his balance all the time. He might fall down just anywhere, and probably everywhere. Sidewalks hurt you when you fall on them, and so do streets. And streets are especially dangerous to fall down on. Jeremy has to be able to walk better if he doesn't want to spoil his Halloween fun. There, that's better. A costume shouldn't make you trip or fall. That's not safe. It should be easy for you to move in your costume. And you have to be able to see where you're going.
Look, Jessica.
A mask that makes it hard to see could get you into all kinds of trouble. There, that's much better. Jeremy can see well now and move safely in his costume too.
Now I'm going to try mine.
Oh, but look at Jessica. She can't see much with her mask on.
It's too big for me.
A monster needs an ugly face. But does it have to be a mask? Makeup can be just as good, and it's always just the right size for you. Just don't get it in your eyes.
Okay. I'll get another one.
If you're not too good at putting on makeup, get an adult to help you. Make sure your mask and costume let you see well and walk well, and they won't spoil your fun on Halloween. Of course, the reason you get all dressed up at Halloween is so you can have fun going trick-or-treating. And I like to see all the children out in their costumes. But when I see them, I always hope they don't forget all they know about crossing streets safely. And I hope you don't either. That's especially important when drivers can't see you well. And for you to see the cars well, it's a good idea to take off your mask when you cross. Even though it may not be night yet, it's dark enough to make things outdoors hard to see, you and the cars. It makes me so happy when I see children look to their left for cars, then right for cars, then left again before they cross. You mustn't forget all the safety rules you know on Halloween, and especially because it's dark. It's safest not to cross between parked cars. That can be very dangerous. And don't cut across yards or empty lots. When it's dark, you can't see what's there. Remembering safety rules is very important on Halloween. There's something else that can help keep you safe outside when it's dark. You'll see right away. Yes, just as I thought. They're coming up my walk now. The people who live in my house like to take pictures of the children who come by.
Okay, we're going to take a picture for a treat, too. Everybody smile.
Now you'll see what there is about their costumes that makes it easier for drivers to see them when it's dark. Do you see how easy it is to see the bright colors in the costumes? Bright colors are easier to see at night than dark colors are. But there's something else. Some parts seem to glow from the camera flash. That's how those parts will look when car headlights shine on them. Those are just pieces of special tape that reflect light very well. You can put tape like that on your costume and on your trick-or-treat bag. Some costumes already have reflecting material on them. Making your costume and your bag easy to see makes you easy to see. And that's a good way to help make Halloween safe. The safer Halloween is, the more fun it is, for you and for me. That's what I think. But some people have a strange idea of fun. They think it's fun to mess up other people's things with paint. They don't think about how the people feel whose things are ruined. And some people think it's fun to throw things at cars and houses and buildings. But the people whose things they're messing up don't. I don't either. It isn't fun to spoil other people's things and make them unhappy. Some people even think it's fun to smash pumpkins. Oh no, that's not fun. Not for all the people who work so hard carving pumpkins, and especially not for us pumpkins. Whew, wow, that was close. Some people don't know what fun really is. I do, and I'll bet you do too. And I know they do. Trick-or-treating is always fun. But there are some things you should remember to help keep it fun. One thing is to always go out with friends. And have an adult come along too. Don't ever trick-or-treat alone. And if someone you don't know very well invites you in.
Look, tonight. Would you like to come in? I have more treats inside.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
That's right. Say, no thanks. And don't eat the treats while you're collecting them. Stay in your own neighborhood. Don't get too far from home. Don't worry, you'll collect enough treats. People are expecting you. And even if you don't stop at houses with no outside lights on, which you shouldn't, you'll have a wonderful time at Halloween. Some of you will probably still be out when it's really dark. That's when flashlights are an especially good idea, to help you watch out for places you might fall or stumble over if you didn't see them. But remember, don't shine those flashlights into anybody's eyes, especially a driver's eyes. That could be dangerous. It isn't hard to have a safe Halloween. Just look how easy it is to see those children when they cross. They wouldn't want an accident to spoil their Halloween fun. I wouldn't want that to happen either. Trick-or-treating is almost over this Halloween for Corey and Jessica and Jeremy. It's almost time for them to head for home. But what do you do with all the treats you've collected? A lot of them are things to eat, of course. But you don't eat them all, at least not right away, that's for sure. And there might be some you won't want to eat at all. Get a grown-up to help you decide, or at least someone a lot older than you. You see, some people think it's fun to play tricks with your treats. Watch out for candy wrappers that have been torn or punctured. That might be a sign of tampering. There might be things in the candy, so break open candy bars before you eat them. Cut fruit into pieces before you eat it, just in case something's been stuck in it. Watch out for things that look like candy, but might be medicines or drugs, or even poisons. Don't eat anything that doesn't look right. If it looks funny, it might not be so funny if you ate it. Treats are so much fun to collect. It'd be awful to have them spoil your Halloween fun by making you sick. Corey's treats won't make her sick, and I hope yours won't make you sick either. I hope you can have the most fun you've ever had this Halloween. Halloween can be a scary time, not because of witches or ghosts that we know aren't real, but because of real things that can spoil our fun. Just remember these few important things I've told you about. Carve your pumpkin carefully. Make sure that you can see. And make sure people can see you. Remember all your safety rules, and take off your mask when you cross a street. Trick-or-treat! Trick-or-treat in your own neighborhood, and don't keep any treats that don't look right. If you can do all that, then you won't have to worry about scary, real things happening on Halloween, right? Right.
fun and a safe Halloween.